This build is so broken while testing in the legendary campaign, it almost crashed my game. The amount of effects that we have going at once suspended and was dealing damage to an entire room of ads, and I dropped to 30 frames per second when I'm normally around 70 to 80 FPS while recording videos. I will completely admit that I thought Strand was trash, especially on Warlock, and I was wrong. With this build, I was easily able to stay alive and clear rooms while solo in the weekly story mission on Legend difficulty, while I was 25 under power, with surges making this exactly like a solo Grandmaster. As you can see, you casually just suspend everything. And you're also able to keep champions and tormentors suspended indefinitely because we're getting shackle grenades back in like 10 seconds. Rec, who I do a lot of low mans and speedruns with, actually recommended me to try this build out. All in all, you can infinitely suspend enemies, both with regular kills and just by spamming shackle grenades. With the tick damage from Osteo Striga, you get a ton of grenade energy back, which is what makes the build so good. Plus, our melee, which has 3 total charges, gives us unraveling rounds, which then spread around, dealing even more damage on top of the tick damage we're already dealing. And lastly, we also have one of the highest damaging supers in the game for Warlocks, which subsequently let us utilize a lot of threadlings, so we get the best of both worlds with this build. That said, we are super close to hitting 60,000 subs on the channel, so if you guys haven't already, make sure to drop a like and sub down below, and let's hop straight into the build. Obviously, Needlestorm is the only super we have in the game, but this is going to be extremely useful for dealing damage. This works best against non-crit based enemies, so it's pretty good against most champions. Healing Rift is going to be your best bet for endgame content. I did find the healing pretty subpar with this build, since we really only have access to damage resistance sources, so having rifts with high recovery is clutch. Lastly, for our abilities, Shackle Grenade is the centerpiece for the build. At base, this will hit enemies and suspend everything in a pretty large area. The sub-projectiles that it creates after the initial impact is what affects this area. Aspect-wise, Weaver's Call is going to allow us to spawn in 3 threadlings whenever we cast our Rift. This is cool, not super strong, so I would love to see some additional aspects later down the line, but the threadlings will be dealing increased damage, so when we consume our grenade to suspend things, casting Rift right after this gets the rotation going pretty quickly. Second to this is a Mind Spun Invocation, which will allow us to consume our grenades. With Shackle Grenades, this is going to grant us 25 seconds of the buff Weaver's Trance, which is broken. With this buff up, any single final blow we get will create a detonation, which hits nearby enemies, suspending them. 25 seconds is a massive duration. If this lasted only 10 seconds, I think it would still be strong. So not only can we do this and suspend everything, but in this time, you can get your grenade back a few extra times, allowing you to spam extra shackles in between proccing this timer. This will also synergize with Necrotics and Osteo Striga. Any enemy that is taking tick damage will now explode and deal tick damage to nearby enemies as well, while also spreading that suspend effect. So just by suspending and killing one enemy, everything else will just chain die too while being suspended. And to make this even better, throwing one Arcane Needle into the mix will also add unraveling rounds for increased damage. When it comes to our fragments, these fit perfectly into the build, making it great for endgame content. Thread of Continuity is going to extend the duration for effects from Suspend and Unravel that we have in this build. This means enemies suspend for a stupid amount of time now, and unraveling rounds will be out for longer as well, dealing more damage. This combo is great against champs because you can just spam shackle grenades again whenever they fall out of the suspend animation. Thread of Generation, on the other hand, is also great on this build because this is how we're getting grenade energy back. Any damage we deal equals energy. Having Necrotics and Osteo means that we can get constant grenade returns as we keep dealing tick damage, and like I just showed, this is how we're able to keep champions perma-stunned. Thread of Warding is honestly a must-have with any endgame Strand build. This gives 10 seconds of Woven Mail whenever we grab an Orb of Power. Woven Mail should be a 60% damage resist to the body, which will also stack with chest piece mods and resilience, offering up to 80% DR in total. Lastly, with Thread of Evolution, this is going to beef up the damage that our Threadlings deal. This makes our super one of the best DPS supers in the game, and the best for Warlocks in general. You can see the full mod setup on screen now if you guys want to take a screenshot, or just start applying mods as I go over what each one does. First up, since we are running an exotic primary with the build, Heavy Ammo Finder and Heavy Ammo Scouts are must-haves. This increases the amount of heavy ammo we get to drop by 67% as long as we're using an exotic primary to kill. And then with a scout, this is going to allow that ammo to also spawn in for our team. This is what allows me to constantly use Commemoration in the build so I can deal with harder enemies while under power. With this, I am also running Void Siphon. This is just super easy to generate orbs with while using volatile rounds, Commemoration, and Null Composure. On my arms, since we are mostly consuming our grenades, not dealing a ton of damage, nor getting kills with any of them, I have 3 grenade kickstarts. This gives a large chunk of grenade energy back whenever we throw or even consume our shackle grenade, and consumes our charges in the process. My chest piece just has on resist mods. These are also a must-have for harder content, offering anywhere from 15% all the way up to 60% damage resist, depending on how you're able to stack the mods. On my boots, double recuperation allows me to stay alive by giving me health back on orb pickup. This is also something I'm very fond of and will likely always have on for non-void builds that don't have as good of healing compared to something like Devour on orb pickup. We do also have stacks on stacks so that we can double the amount of armor charge stacks that we're getting each time we grab a single orb of power. This is great for a grenade kickstart so that we always have at least 2 armor charge stacks feeding into the energy we get back. Lastly, on my class item, I still have on the infinite special ammo generation setup. This consists of 2 empowered finishers and 1 special finisher. I value having tons of special ammo over any mods in this armor slot and in general in the game, so now I will never run out of ammo. Like I briefly mentioned throughout the video, this build with Null Composure and Commemoration feels insane. If you just have Osteo, in harder content, the build feels kind of slow, and you do need to overextend a bit to try and get those suspend kills. Commemoration makes this feel super laxed. You have great ad clear, great range, good damage, amazing ammo economy, especially with finders, which is why we have them on the build, and we have volatile rounds. So I ended up using this most of the time and then stowing it to allow Reconstruction to reload it for me, so I had no downtime. When it comes to Null Composure, this was just a solid option that I could use volatile rounds with and pair it with Void Siphon, plus rapid fire fusion rifles are the best in class for damage as well. Osteo, on the other hand, should mostly be used to spread, suspend, and get your grenades back through the tick damage. But other than that, using your heavy and special just feels much better in harder content. I honestly think this is way better than even stasis turret builds. You pretty much get the same crowd control effect, but with way less effort, better ability uptime, and a better kit. Let me know your guys' thoughts on the build in the comments below, and definitely try this thing out before the raid so you can see if it's something you want to bring in. I will be streaming my team's day 1 raid clear this Friday. A link to my Twitch is in the description below. Anyways, that's all for this video. As always, have a good one, guys. Peace.